Chaplin is a biopic about Charlie Chaplin, the pioneer of silent filmmaking that captured Hollywood in a whirlwind and has become one of the largest names in film history. A ton of his films have been put out by the Criterion Collection. While I've only seen a handful and really need to watch more of his work, Chaplin is a film that I've always wanted to see for quite a while. The film stars Robert Downey Jr. as Chaplin and got him an Oscar nomination for the role, and I personally really like Robert Downey Jr. when he's acting and not just Tony Starking. Honestly though, I think RDJ is probably the best part of the film. His performance is great and was totally worth the nomination. I'm not sure what else was nominated that year, but his performance was fantastic. The film was released in 1992 and was directed by Richard Attenborough, as it follows the life of Charles Chaplin from a young age with his mentally ill mother, played by Charlie Chaplin's real-life daughter, up until he got into vaudeville, which sent him to Hollywood to make movies. The film pretty much goes from the beginning to the end of his film career, ending the film on a celebration of Charlie Chaplin's work, which honestly is one of my favorite scenes in the film. However, the film has a center narrative piece with Anthony Hopkins as him and an older Charlie Chaplin talk about his autobiography and setting the record straight. This is used as a way to help transition from period to period that worked really well. I've heard that this is really one of the only made up parts for the film, but as a story structure it helped work really well. The problem that I have with the film is that outside of some of the shining moments, this is a super bland, cliched, and by the numbers biopic about a very interesting figure. I felt like the film could have used some more stylistic choices in its presentation to kind of help tell that story, but everything's just so by the numbers that it really lets some moments drag on, and it's nearly 2.5 hour runtime. And despite that runtime, the film can completely just gloss over some of the dramatic moments in Chaplin's life to instead fixate on some of the minutia. Not to mention how kind of creepy Chaplin is with younger women, and the film still kind of plays it off like, what a scamp. And it kind of as a celebration when knowing that he's been with some questionably young women. I say questionable because age of consent laws were weird back in the day. It's still pretty off-putting for the most part, like he's kind of a creep. I feel like the film will present some criticisms toward Chaplin's life and his character, but then like on the other hand kind of wave it off, like the fact that he ran through wires faster than Usain Bolt, but because he was so fixed on his work, and it's like, you know, he's an artist, he's fixated on his art. Look how great his art is though, you know what I mean? See, it's kind of worth it. It's kind of worth neglecting his loved ones. With all that being said, I think if you're a big fan of Chaplin, then this is totally worth watching for Robert Downey Jr.'s performance alone. And while I do think the film is a very generic biopic, it's still a pretty decent experience as a whole, and it's kind of an easy recommendation for a lot of people because it is pretty digestible. But I think I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. I just kind of wished they would have done a little bit more flair to it, kind of use some of the like Chaplinisms as some backing for like stylistic choices of the film to kind of make it pop a little more, but 6 out of 10.